Shabbat Shalom. Have you heard of that old novel by Eric Segal, Love Story? I read it in my early teens and was struck by the line one lover said to the other, "Love means never having to say you are sorry." I, being young and not having experienced romantic love, felt as if I was being a glimpse into the secrets of the adult world. Yet even then, it didn't sit well with me. Over the years, I came to think of that line as an anti-love story. Being in a mature, loving relationship definitely means saying you're sorry. In fact, it means sometimes saying you're sorry when you really don't feel like it. Sometimes when you'd rather stay on top of your own mountain of being right. It means looking at your loved one through a gaze of compassion and empathy, seeing their side of things, and owning up to your missteps. The notion that love means never having to say you're sorry belongs in a list of advice that I would title, How Not to Love Well. You know what else belongs on that list? Starting a sentence with, "You know I love you, but," and then launching into a criticism. For that matter, we could put the entire book, The Giving Tree, on the list of how not to love well. This might be a hot take for some who love The Giving Tree, and yet, let's face it, it's a story about an anthropomorphic tree that gives all of itself away piece by piece until it's just a stump to a person who only seems to care about himself. That kind of love that is one-way giving is not a paradigm for loving well in my books. So what is loving well, and what do our Jewish sources have to say about it? 1, loving well is realized through action. Judaism prioritizes behavior over feeling. The central paragraph of the Shema is the Ve'ahavta, you shall love Adonai, your God, with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your might. How is it possible to be commanded to love? We are not actually being commanded to feel love, rather to act with love. In this case, acting lovingly is defined by incorporating the teachings of the Torah so intimately into our lives as to inscribe them on our hearts. B'shivtecha b'veitecha, uvlechtecha b'derech, uvshochtecha uvkumecha, to speak of them in all places at all times. This teaching indicates that loving well is not something that is intuitive to us. Rather, it is something that we need to conscientiously and continually remind ourselves to enact, over and over, all the time. We need to practice loving well to dedicate and rededicate ourselves to it. And doesn't this make sense? We all have selfish and impure impulses. For a plethora of reasons, we may find ourselves tempted to act in ways that are spiteful, dismissive, or disrespectful towards another person, even those who we love. We can be overwhelmed by emotions like anger, frustration, and jealousy that race through us like a wild stallion, wild with intensity. The Ve'ahavta gives us a way of taming this. The more we practice loving as an embodied practice, the more effectively we can get ourselves back on the path of loving well. 2, loving well requires rules. This week's Torah portion is called Mishpatim, laws. It recounts a series of God's laws that Moses gives to the Israelites. These include laws about treatment of slaves, damages, loans, returning lost property, the Sabbath, the sabbatical year, holidays, and destroying idolatry. Such laws are all about how to be in meaningful and healthy relationships with God, with each other, and with our world. Love needs rules. It needs its own kind of laws, guardrails that keep us in relationships of trust. 3, the opposite word for sacred in Judaism is ordinary. Kodesh v'chol, holy versus everyday. Love is sacred, and in Judaism, we keep something sacred by separating it out. Think of Shabbat. Think of Torah. They are kept separate, protected, and honored. It's the same with those who we love. To love well is to treat the relationship itself as kadesh, to set it apart, guard its boundaries, to approach this love with kavanah, heartfelt intentionality and presence. So love is not being like the giving tree and leaving yourself empty. Love is certainly not never having to say you're sorry. To love well is to practice love in all its sanctity every day with intention and care. Love is expressed in small gestures of kindness. Love is expressed when we show up for one another. Love is enacted when we give someone the first pick. Love is offered when we spend time with the lonely. Love is paying attention and responding. In the words of the late Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, love, like faith, is the redemption of solitude, the slender bridge joining soul to soul. It is practiced in everyday small moments as we cultivate a life of holiness. Shabbat Shalom and happy Erev Valentine's Day.